Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Digital Hollywood installment and fun panel. I'm John Canning. I work with AMD and I work with a lot of creative partners around the planet to try to make cool and interesting things. And the good news is we have an assembled body here that make cool and interesting things. But I won't try to flub up their introductions because I never do that well. And I will start with Mary. Why don't you tell us who you are? Give us a short of what you do.
Hi, John. Glad to be here. Mary Hamilton. I work at Accenture. I've been there quite a few years, and I have a number of roles, primarily in our innovation organization. So I lead our Accenture Labs, which is the R&D organization, looking out ahead of the future. How do we de-risk what's coming next, and help our clients and Accenture be ready for that? And I also lead up our innovation center. So bringing our clients through and helping to bring all those new things that are coming to life and make them real for our clients. So I span and have perspective both, from what Accenture's doing, but also what our clients do and what's happening from an industry perspective. So
Fabulous. Thank you very much. I feel like we can call your job How to Make AI in a Safe Space. De-risking. All right, Andrew.
Hi, good to see you. Thank you for having me. I'm Andrew Klein. I lead media innovation for PMCI, which is Publicis Media Content and Innovation Team. We are a center of excellence of innovation for Publicis Media, and we work with all of our agency partners across the group to help identify where our emerging technologies, what's of value, and what can really create exceptional consumer experiences. We certainly have been on the forefront of AI experiences for consumers, dating back to the earliest messenger chatbots and I don't want to set everyone's things off, but the Alexa and Google assistant experiences for brands, and trying to make sure that we make the most compelling, brand safe, and also exciting experiences using AI. And now we're at this incredibly exciting time of LLMs and generative AI, where everyone has access to some incredible technology, whether that's the search box, or something more bespoke. And so really excited to talk to you all about what we're doing at Publicis Media today.
Great. Last but not least, Shona.
Hi, I'm Shona. I lead strategy within the Omnicom Precision Marketing Group, specifically focused on customer experience strategy and how we leverage all of the capabilities that are available to us and our clients today to be able to deliver the best possible customer experience across every aspect of the customer journey. So thinking about how customers experience brands and how customers experience brands in a world of AI, and what brands can do in order to improve that experience to drive their bottom line.
Fantastic. So a bunch of you here today, um, but I feel like, and again, going back to the de-risking the future, or the future is now. We've all said AI in various parts of our conversation. Um, but yeah, and Andrew and I have been in this conversation maybe 6 months ago. Lots have changed. I think our conversations have evolved a bit more beyond the boogeyman is coming to. I hear very mature conversations about how you're using a tool set. Happens to be AI in some cases, but it sounds like you all, and I'd love to hear some thoughts on. It's gone from the boogeyman maybe, or the boogie person, to more of, hey, we're using these tools and we got to satisfy our customers, meet customer demand, delight people. So how are you finding yourselves using it today? And some tangible examples. Andrew, I'm going to pick on you. Go for it.
You may. All right, sure thing. We have we're very pro AI, pro generative AI. We have been so since 2017 when we made significant investments in what is our platform today called Marcel. That has evolved tremendously from when we first initiated that project to now it is our generative AI solution that all of our global employee workforce has access to. And more importantly, is learning how to use these new tools with expertise. We've deployed an incredible program called pl.ai, which enables our global workforce to literally play with AI, play with prompting, understand what this is for people, who have never been, really dabbled with it and be able to understand dynamically what everyone's level is, some of the businesses you work on, your roles, and then curate an interactive AI experience that gets you hands-on with everything from prompting to generating content. And it's working very well. People love it. They're excelling. And I've been able to watch this evolution of my colleagues embracing AI and finding new ways to use these incredible tools. And everyone's applying it into their own, in their own way, which is what I find super exciting. It's not rigid where everyone's using it the same way, by all means, I think every single person's using it differently and applying it differently. And what's exciting for me is hearing colleagues, kind of running up to me to tell me what, like just from starting and then like a week later talking about workflows that they created and agentic workflows and, what have they built and these new skills. And it's really, for me, heartwarming to see that being embraced. But it's because we did structure it so that way everybody has access to relevant tools, things that are again, allow you to work with content that you have, make sure you work with it securely, but then also start generating new things. And it's really unlocking a lot of new capabilities for teams. Now, a lot of things are still being used day to day behind the scenes for work, for efficiencies, to enhance your workload or make it a little bit lighter. But then on the other hand, we are absolutely exploring consumer facing experiences and like where do we meet consumers in this space. And as I mentioned, like everyone today from the last time we talked has access to robust AI right inside the Google search, which is now a terminal for all intents and purposes, where you could do anything you could do basically in Gemini. Now it's free for the most part for the whole world to access. And so it changes how we think about audiences, how we approach them, and how do we look to engage them with generative experiences. It's not easy, but we have been doing that in the past. We do this with a whole bunch of different clients where we're able to create these, very opted in moments. We try to limit open-endedness to it, but allow people to generate and get playful and experience like what is a brand connected to a generative experience and what can that be. Tends to be pretty delightful when it's orchestrated correctly.
All right. So, Mary, Shona, you're in similar businesses, but are you, how are you? Is there a compare contrast? Are you finding anything differently? Is it more of what that guy said? But I'm also, Mary, I mean, an innovation center right now has to be pulling their hair out of like just usually an innovation center is the people that go to look at the cool new stuff, but that cool new stuff is happening all around us. So how do you find you guys internally using it? Is it any different? Compare and contrast.
Yeah, and we use it in two ways, really. I distinguish between, there's AI for the efficiencies and how we work. And I think, a lot of the things that were just said, it's how do we accelerate content creation, analyze, a lot of information, support software development, and just, get our folks thinking about or focused on higher value work. But it's not just efficiency for us, right? It's like, how do we augment the human expertise? So we're not just relying on it to, bluntly create content. It's, we've got a lot of ambiguity in what we do. And so it's really about taking that human vision and then helping to accelerate and make them more able to create quickly and think about that higher value work. The other piece that I think is really important when we focus on how we work is the governance and the responsible AI process to make sure that everything we do, especially for ourselves, but also for our clients, is transparent, it's secure, it's appropriate, across the enterprise and across our client work. So there's that how we work aspect of it, and it's actually it's become day to day. It's an expectation, especially of our managing directors, that we use these tools within our work. But then the other side of it is how we serve our clients, right? How do we use it as a business transformation tool, and how do we help our clients go from experimentation and maybe some of the things that they see in the innovation center as early stage, but then helping to drive that and mature it into something that's enterprise scale and is creating value at that scale. So, that could be, consumer or customer experiences. You mentioned the new way that we do search, right? Thinking about agentic search optimization, agentic commerce, how all those things change. How do digital agents change what our clients need to think about and how they use them? Intelligent assistants, content generation, decision support, and even within our innovation centers, we are pushing boundaries. I've got AI concierges. I have a digital twin of myself that goes in, and when I can't be there, actually this week we're launching our New York refresh. I can't be there, but my digital twin will be there. We have interactive demonstrations. We're using AI facilitation. So instead of the traditional like brainstorming, put some sticky notes on the board, we're able to compile all the conversations that are happening in the room and help accelerate the insights. But then it's about applying that human brain on top of it to say what's really important, how do we prioritize, and how do we turn this into something real that we can move forward with our clients.
Fun. Shona?
Yeah, I mean, all of that.
Yes, plus. Yes, and.
And I think there are a couple of things. You started off by asking, "Is the future already here?" And I'm gonna quote William Gibson, and the future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed, and I think that is the biggest challenge today with the clients that we work with. Some clients are moving at the speed of light and are right on the edge of what's possible today. Other clients are still figuring out what AI might mean for them. And the challenge we've got is the customer experience is being defined by those who are moving at pace. And that means moving at pace on how work gets done within organizations and addressing how consumers are now operating in an AI world. So that means that those organizations that are embracing every aspect of that are able to meet the consumers more efficiently and more effectively in their needs. And that is setting expectations for entire industries who are still playing catch up. So I think we're in this kind of weird space where there are significant numbers of clients who are driving the agenda and significant numbers of clients who are playing catch up still. And there's a big challenge that goes with that, which is the organizational structure that is needed in an AI world, both for the internal work and for managing the customers, is fundamentally different to the one that we've had for the last 20 or 30 years. And organizational change takes time and effort and energy, particularly in enterprise level organizations.
Well, let's double click into that, because it's, the structure, and I was thinking, and we've all been talking a bit about the cost, right? Like everybody's now almost wildly enthusiastic rushing into this and then starting to look at the bills at the end of the month and things like that. But when we say structure, we say what are the gotchas? As we go with wild enthusiasm of saying it's going to help us do our jobs and things like that. Where are you hitting the guardrails or things like that and maybe how you're managing it? So, I mean, Shona, you were, keep
Well,
going.
one of the areas that we come up against a lot is AI is enabling businesses to move from, particularly in the marketing space, from a world of producing campaigns to a world of managing always on programs. And that requires different skill sets, different ways of thinking, different people from the campaign world into the program world. And that change management takes time. So there is an organizational structure barrier to being able to leverage all of the capabilities of AI, both from an internal processes and the efficiencies and the and that side of things, as well as from the understanding the consumer and being able to respond to it.
And if I could pile on to that,
Oh yeah, pilot, yeah, keep going. Don't
yeah,
stop.
I think that change management piece is critical. It's actually a bit of research that we're doing as well. Um, if you think about the bigger picture of, tokenomics, right? And how do we ensure that we're spending in the right ways? Part of that starts from the human behavior side of it. So how do we ensure, as we're encouraging and, driving change management, wanting everyone to use AI, it's not effective to just use it, right? You have to be using it in the right way. And if you roll out a bunch of, rewards for using AI the most, you might end up with performative use of AI rather than actually valuable use of AI. And so, a
Hold
lot of,
on. What do you
yeah,
mean by performative? Yeah, let
um,
double click into that.
yeah, just going in and using it in ways that may not be as effective. So it could be, so you ask like, what exactly is the right thing to do versus the not right thing to do? I mean, we know that AI is great at, creating content, summarizing information, coding. So are people using it to advance what problem that they're trying to solve, or are they just in there like, creating as many tokens as they can to kind of boost their numbers? And what we really want is people who are thinking, kind of using the human side, right? Understanding, defining the problem, what's the context, navigating ambiguity, building trust, thinking about business decisions, but then bringing AI in to work with them, right? And so part of it is understanding where people are working successfully to learn how to work with AI and how to be more effective and how to frame the right questions, how to validate the output, how to connect insights, right? And then understanding what needs to happen next. That's all the human side. And then bringing in the AI in an effective way to make that work. Those are the right kind of behaviors that we're trying to evaluate. And then, put flags up and have, ways of mitigating when people are not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Andrew, anything else? Yeah.
Yeah, we call that fighting the slop. That's what we're doing. We're fighting slop because now collectively, as everyone on the internet, 2+ years of doing this, everyone's getting more familiar with identifying and understanding what is AI, what's generated by AI, what's human generated, hopefully questioning more, but what it does mean is that everyone's proficiency is going up, right? And our acuity to understanding what is generative and what's good versus bad is very clear. And it's important for, always important to identify and mitigate against slop. We don't want that. The reason why slop comes out and things sound the same and feels the same is because it's the same. It's only working with, out of the box pre-existing ideas that have already been done. And so if you're not adding net new concepts and ideas, you're not going to get anything net new out of it. It's just going to regurgitate. And it's very, kind of entertaining, but kind of sad to see like examples in the wild come out where people are getting like caught for using, AI, or, it's, what it was, not kind of like sourced correctly, and then just kind of ho-hums visually, same thing. So taste, curation is becoming more and more important. And it's not just for us as marketers. We need to keep at pace with consumers, and consumers, just like were kind of ad blind to mobile banner units and like things that, have gotten us to the, goldfish attention level. That same type of, nuance is what's going to be needed to understand of within generative content, be that how we're communicating with each other and or actually creating branded content that goes out into the world. And the filters are up, right? And you could get called out for putting out slop. Or, you figure out that there is slop to be made, and then there's an audience for that. But not everyone's at that point just yet.
And I would say you even have to be careful, even if what you go in with as an idea isn't slop. If you're not careful about how you use AI, it can come out looking like everything else, even
It
when
can
it
get
isn't your
sloppy.
first idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think AI does still have a tendency towards verbosity. So I've seen so often the use of AI, which creates a very comprehensive output, but it's so long and so comprehensive that no one is prepared to engage with it. So I think getting that balance right of comprehensiveness that can be achieved through AI and the what's actually needed, I think is a delicate balancing act.
Well, and you all are bringing up things that it's interesting because the maturity of a conversation around this topic, again, 6 months, a year, some of the things that we're battling with, like it's been a long time since I've seen somebody blaming a tool for output, right? As much as it is right now. It's been it's been a while since it's like, are you using Photoshop on that? You know, but it seems to be very forefront. And is this a phase? Is this are we headed down a completely different path, or is it a phase of maturity of the tools and technologies and awareness? Again, the concept of going from quick inference to now almost everybody said the word agentic, right? Like the maturity of the technology. So I'm just curious, like as you're looking at different phases with your customers, potentially or partners, how much do you feel like, oh, it's the problem today, but is it the problem tomorrow? Uh, Thoughts on that?
Or next week. I mean, the quality is just getting better and better so fast that I think that will eventually kind of wash away, where it'll be undeterminable what is the right now slop is, we're saying that because we're seeing this remnants, like we just got rid of the extra finger on not too long ago we got rid of extra digits, right? And now there's almost some uncanny video quality that people can't really tell. I mean, I know I know my parents send me things in Instagram all the time, and I'm like, that's like a full AI video. Like that, they're like, what? It is? Like the blurring of the line is absolutely happening, good or bad. The quality is becoming that good. So I think we're gonna like kind of escape the slot velocity eventually, and probably sooner than we would. And that's just going to change about how we're interfacing with these experiences. Like, are they becoming content that's in feed? We're going to see more generative, social accounts. We're going to see more conversations and surfaces where you're going to be able to interact with AI in retail, in public spaces. So, I'm getting so excited with robotics right now and physical AI. How it presents itself is going to keep changing, but we're at such a rapid pace right now where it's like blurring fairly quickly, and the quality is getting better literally every day. But the question was brought up before about who will have access to that kind of technology. Is that public? Will that be, big enterprises or something else that will be able to access these tools to create and share that with consumers? Like, there's an interesting thing happening right now where, consumers kind of like seem to be taking more of their own personal control. I mean, this is us, I'm speaking to John here, like living at the kind of like this frontier edge of seeing what's happening. But like in a couple years, 3 to 5 years, like having your own AI, offline, embedded, being with you and having that full control and security where everyone has their own is going to be happening sooner than later. I mean, we could use the mobile phone updates from both Google at Google I/O as well as the recent Siri update just to show like, wow, how fast has that changed where, before the update, Siri wasn't that great. Now it's incredible, right? If you're using these new models. And what Google is pushing everyone into who uses their services is going to be a full agentic experience, which is one completely new for everybody. But is going to change how we interact and experience everything digitally. And it absolutely is going to impact our real world because it's going to be buying things and doing things and operating things all on our behalf. Changing it, we're no longer talking about slop of video content. We're talking about real world experience that's happening between you and an AI in a real world moment.
Yeah, and I think that the edge cases of today are the mainstream of tomorrow, and that shift is happening much faster than ever before. And I think in business, we need to be more thinking about the edge cases today because they will be so important so quickly that we can't afford to be thinking, well, maybe in a year's time, maybe in 3 years' time. Like we need to be operating on like what's at the bleeding edge right now and what do we need to do about it.
All right. So what would be a bleeding edge, Mary? Like what is let's give some specifics of like this is bleeding edge now, but is going to become norm. I think Andrew, you mentioned a couple of them, but Mary, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, certainly physical AI, that's a very interesting topic. And I think as the real world models, imitation learning start to come into play, AI has just incredibly accelerated the robotic space in a way, that we haven't seen in the past historically. I mean, really, when you think about it is not just about how we're accelerating AI, it's how AI is also accelerating all kinds of other technologies and sciences, right? We're doing a lot of work in bioinnovation because the pace at which you can evaluate and formulate new molecules is accelerating through what's happening in AI. Next generation compute, right? How do we manage error handling for quantum computing? That's getting improved by AI. So a lot of these other technologies are actually accelerating through benefit of AI as kind of the underlying force behind it.
So what do you see as a gotcha right now? Like the client comes to you and says, I've experienced this where I want you to use AI. What? But are there gotchas that you're trying to steer folks around that maybe just points in time? Again, as we've talked about this, things changing rapidly. The edge case is becoming the norm. But what are the gotchas that you're running with in clients and customers today?
I mean, for me, I would say it's around the data, right? Because the data is what drives the context. And if you want to get to, highly personalized, I was thinking of an example of, where slob is getting created and humans are kind of getting ahead of that, like, we make a lot of PowerPoint presentations, and for a while, everybody's PowerPoint presentations all looked the same because they were being AI generated. And then people got smart and they said, oh, let me train this up on my personal template. Let me train this up on the context that I have. So if you expand that out at scale for brands and for content, for media, the more data you have that creates that context that makes things unique, the more effective and the more personalized you can make that content that's coming out on the other side.
on that theme, and Shona, I'm going to let you dive in, but there's I was just reminded of the European AI Act. Sorry, I mean, I'm probably getting the title of it wrong, but the specific amounts of disclosure, GDPR before then about personal data that's allowed and things like that, and it almost a challenge of where to get good data, how to get that data. Yeah, it seems like these are almost two conflicting challenges.
Yes, but it's also the data that is the differentiator for a business, right? Their own data internally that they have, right? And how to
Which they're
use
not
that.
restricted by using,
Right,
right? Shona?
right.
And most businesses have more data than they need.
Yeah.
There is no shortage of data in any organization, even down to if often clients think that they don't have any data, but actually they do. And using AI, we can access that data and we can manage that data and we can use that data to drive impact for clients. So, for example, content is data. You don't have to have someone's email address, which is often what people think of as data, is like they have a personal record of that person. There is plenty data that can be used to optimize experiences today, without having to collect personal data. Now, personal level data adds a whole other layer of potential, and there are many layers of data that you can get into to drive the customer experience. And AI is an enabler to be able to do that. And actually, in the world of data, we've been using large language models for decades. This is not a new thing. And we've been using large language models for decades to do the modeling and the next best action understanding. The difference today is we're able to activate against that much more efficiently as well. And I think to your original point about the gotchas, I think the biggest challenge we have is the first place any client always goes is using AI to make things more efficient. How can I use AI to make things faster and cheaper? Whereas actually, the clue is in the name. It's artificial intelligence. How can I use AI to make things smarter? And I think that's there are many organizations are on this faster, cheaper track, but actually we have to be thinking about faster, cheaper, and better.
Yeah. And Andrew, did you have
Yeah,
something? Yeah.
I think one of the gotchas that I'm watching from the sidelines is usage. I think a lot of people don't understand it, and Mary brought up tokenization a little bit earlier, but I don't think a lot of people understand what goes into using these AI solutions, and that it's like it's either free or it's infinite. And that's not the case, as we've been seeing a lot of articles come out time and time again of these massive organizations who have, burned through their allotment of tokens that they expected to use in a year and did it in the first quarter and it's gone, to some horror stories where people have spent, who knows how much trying to run some programs and there was no cap put on to the token usage and the way that the thing was set up. And I think there's this realization that it's not necessary, or it will be a hard realization. It's not always free. It's not unlimited. And that is going to be of, real value of understanding both for enterprise organizations as well as consumers, thinking about how do I access good, great models? What's the most efficient cost of it? Where can I find this for free? What are those pathways to utilize that? How can I max it out so I could get access to it? Or, what we're seeing is the alternative of something else that's rising up. To me, I'm having like flashbacks of 90s internet, of like AOL subscriptions, and needing dial-up, and the world of like Napster and LimeWire, because what's starting to happen is people are realizing that there's this inherent cost, to using AI. But what's starting to pop up now is local models and being able to own your AI. That's something I've been personally experimenting with at home in like a little AI lab I sent up in my basement. But understanding what really goes on in the mechanics of the tokens of the AI, and a lot of rather than going out to a data center, and this was like my frustration, a solve for my own frustration as a AI user. At home, I started paying for my own pro accounts, not the mega ones, just like the $20 ones, and using whether that was Gemini or Claude. And when I started giving it harder tasks, I'm hitting usage caps, right? And something that a lot of consumers are going through themselves as they're trying to make their own business, trying to make a website, trying to make that app, all the fantasies they've been hearing about how incredible AI is, that I think a lot of organizational users take for granted because they're, luckily for me, I can use this to, max output, and, nothing's telling me I have to wait till 4 p.m. Wednesday or another day to go finish this or pay up right now. And so I think a lot of consumers will start leaning into more of like understanding what local AI is, understanding what's the hardware and technology that you'll need to use it and embrace it. And I think that's going to start changing how people and even organizations start providing AI to their teams. Like eventually it'll probably be localized right to your work computer and do a lot of heavy tasks right on that computer. But should you need to really do the mega work, then that'll open up to the some of the bigger data capabilities. But John, last time we were talking, and I think it was 6 months ago, we were chatting about how excited I was about Gemma, Google's Google's local model, which I installed on my phone and was able to offline be able to access everything. And now we're getting into like much more interesting spaces where you could run more robust models on your computers, allowing you to do like pretty incredible tasks, but not getting dinged for excess usage. And there's a lot of interesting efficiencies there, but also I think a lot of change that might happen about how consumers and enterprises look to access AI solutions.
Yeah, and just on that topic, from the enterprise standpoint, also putting in those controls, right? So that the system understands and you are proactively setting the guardrails so that the experiences are still good, return the things that people need, but are using kind of the lowest level of compute or tokens that are required, and how to help that fall through. And from the enterprise, you can help train your workforce, right? To, not just use the most expensive model every time. But also when you think about it from the consumer standpoint, right? If you've got a chatbot agent out there, how do you control, you can't just run out of tokens. That's not going to be a great experience. What if a really high value customer logs in next? So how do you actually put some guardrails or, and model your customer base so that you're using tokens efficiently that way as well? So there's a lot of thinking going into that problem space right now.
The consumer angle of that was something I failed to put on my endpoint there, which was this, when brands are asking us to explore AI-based experiences for consumers, the scalability of that needs to be heavily considered, where not everyone can just come in and start prompting, depending, how popular are and the media you use to drive more and more eyeballs and traffic to it. You could see a significant amount of token usage for people looking to make, branded images, branded videos, something fun and playful. It could be whatever it is, but at scale, that sizing is not necessarily in everyone's mind. It's just like we have a magical thing that could do magical things, but let's just do it. Well, there's actually a reality to how you can scale that. And got to figure out the right pathways to be able to do that. Plus, all the parameters and governances that are needed to work with that brand, that IP, that likeness, and allowing audiences to do that without abusing and taking advantage of token usage,
Well, I
like
think as we've talked
Chipotle,
about,
PLI.
privacy, cost, security, and privacy are things that now, as we start thinking about these problems, um, the hybridization, again, we watch the pendulum in a lot of business will swing from one aspect to another, swings to the cloud. And now we see it coming back into this perspective of where you're doing your compute for why. And again, I work with partners in Europe that are intentionally need to keep AI local for privacy reasons or security reasons. Um, but being able to do that, and again, what are you running it on? Is the phone? Is it the laptop? Is it a desktop? Is it your data center or is it a cloud data center? And some of the migration of these models, um, we see things like model routers now, where it is routing the request to the right tool. To your point, Mary, which is you don't necessarily need to light up the biggest, baddest, latest model, for some of the tasks, but you shouldn't expect your users to know which model is great. You're making a request. The infrastructure needs to help you and helps the business determine that.
Yeah,
I
and
think there's
effectively using caching, or back to the data, if you could do semantic caching based on contextual knowledge about your business, that will bring more of those efficiencies too.
Shona,
And
you were
in,
trying to say.
yeah, in large organizations, I think there is also a lot of reinvention of the wheel going on, where actually finding the governance models that mean best practice is surfaced for everyone across an organization is really critical, because it's very easy for 50 different people in a global organization to essentially create the same AI capability, and they're all doing it a little bit differently. Some will be good, some will be less good, some will be best practice. But how do you surface best practice within an organization in order that it can be applied consistently across the entirety of that organization and optimized over time?
Not to have a bunch of agents all competing against each other trying to do the same task.
Right.
All right. We're going to go down the line, Shona, then Mary, then Andrew. What are you excited about next? Like, we've talked about things that are on the edge that'll be normal tomorrow, but is there, and it could be anything in this sort of thing, is what are you excited to see next? And next, I'm not going to put a heart, it's, don't give me I'm not going to do the 3 to 5 year vision. It's just, what are you excited about as you're seeing a trend line here? What are you excited about? Shona?
So I think AI has already fundamentally disrupted the straightforward purchasing process, like AI as the first point of call in a purchase process. And that's already happened. Where I think we haven't seen the significant disruption yet is in the retention and loyalty space of the customer experience. And I think we're going to see a really interesting evolution of loyalty in a world of AI in the next couple of years, probably sooner.
Mary?
Yeah, it's a little bit along those lines. I have two robots. I mean, I was promised robots as a child, so I want to see that, and we're getting there. But more along the lines of what Shona was saying, I think there's a real opportunity, um, to not just think about content creation, but think about experience creation, right? And as I'm run innovation centers, I'm thinking about those experiences and how do we bring together creativity and data and AI and technology to create new experiences that feel relevant, they feel authentic, but you could do that at scale. And I think there's just a huge opportunity to do that now.
Fun. Andrew?
I'm definitely most excited for consumers to start using agents. I think that's going to be a huge unlock. And now that I would assume that Google will be first in this race once they launch their Gemini Spark agent, where it's just going to be natively integrated into everyone's kind of natural world. And I think when people start seeing what a real agentic solution can do is going to be quite eye-opening, because what a lot of people are doing still is just chat bots and chat-based one-to-one without action happening behind the scenes. And I think when people start seeing it do routines, do recurring cron jobs, where chronological jobs, where it'll just kind of do activities for you behind the scenes, and people start making their own personal workflows for just everyday life, I think that's just going to be the mental unlock to be like, oh, wow, this is what the real AI magic is. And, that's going to come through for me, I'll believe to see this through the mobile devices first, where, we'll start seeing the apps wash away because you'll just start asking for what you need and it just does it in the background and serves it up for you. Certainly I've been dabbling with Hermes agent myself. I think that was so eye-opening for me and so exciting for me, somebody who's been so deep in this technology. It's really refreshing and scarily exciting. But I'm excited for this to get into consumer devices, this year.
Well, all jokes of serious aside, um, uh, look, I thank you all for coming and sharing your thoughts and your ideas. And Mary, I was asked by a bunch of students to predict the future, and in that similar vein, I said, well, I'm pretty sure of one thing. And everybody leans in. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure we're going to still tell stories. How we tell stories, with what tools we tell stories. But I'm pretty sure that that's the through line in your experience and go create experiences. Again, you're just adding new ways to do it, but we're still creating experiences. We're still telling stories. We're still delighting customers. We're just adding new things to it. So thank you all for joining us today. Hope somebody out there takes a little tidbit out there and goes off and has their new agent experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.